Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. In this one I have been building this prop behind me for a puppet set, and I've been having great fun putting all sorts of engineering ideas into practice. And one that I've been particularly pleased with has been a wooden bicycle type chain, and I thought I'd like to show you how I make it. Each link of the chain is made up of 4 pieces of ply and 2 of these pegs. It's a good opportunity to get rid of some scrap ply. This is nice and thin. Now with a marker I have determined how wide I want my link to be and my chain, and with this apparatus, which is just a stick with pencil in it clamped with a screw, set to the right width. So I'm going to get a consistent mark, cut that strip, and I'm going to make them nice and consistent. I'm going to cut them into strips. I made like a drill press stand for my drills so that I can do that perpendicular, and I made a jig for drilling of the holes. It just sort of slots in there, and then I secure it with some clamps. I slot them in there to the distance I want, and I have a mark there. And then I can drill 3 or so at a time. On the jig here I have a peg that is the right distance from my drill bit for the second hole, so that I can put that onto the hole and it should line up in the other hole. So I get my stick, put it in, and then I'm going to drill the hole straight down there. With a small bench block clamped to the table, it's going to give me the mark of the distance of that cut there, to then put this in and cut it off. So now I have a little pile of those square ones. I'm going to get a piece of ply and make a hole of the same size close to that edge there and put a peg through. With a piece of sandpaper I'm going to sand a stick so it's a sort of a point, and then I can put it through that hole there to where it's nice and tight. With a dab of glue I'm going to put it in there. Then I'll put one of those on and trim the point off, and then trim the back end off. Now, a rough and ready way of getting the rounded edge on here is to clamp a board to the table, get a block of wood and glue some sandpaper to it with a screw and some washers there, and a screw with a handle, and screw it on so that we're now going to get like a sanding disc. I'm going to clamp the board and this stick that we've made onto there so that the little peg holds that. Then we can start grinding the curve on that. On the same drill press stand I put a pole through to make a better system, a pole through with a disc on the end with the little table here, and so therefore it's a bit more efficient. For the peg, I'm first going to have to make a dowel. So I get a stick and with the planer, plane off the edges until it almost fits into a nut firmly, and then with a hammer tap it through to standardize it. Then I will measure off and cut them to the length that I want, and then when I've cut those, I will then mark with a knife where the indentation's going to be. Then on the bench, I'll put that in that notch, roll it so that I will make a score right around the whole pole on both ends. Then I'll roughly pare it back a little bit. And there we have it, but we need to standardize those ends so they're not so huckery. Now I'm going to need to be able to turn the end on that, so I've made this holder here, which then is going to rotate it, and I'll show you how you do that. I'm going to need a broomstick and drill a hole of the same size as that stick down the center, but I do want it central. And so on a board, I'm going to put a couple of boards that when I stick that drill bit on there, it's going to be lined up central with that pole, and then clamp it on with a clamp. So we have the drill bit nice and firm, the broomstick centralized there, a bearing made out of wood, just a U shape with a couple screws, then up the top one that's just a V, doesn't have to be very fancy, just to hold the top there. Then I'm going to start making that drill down, and it will stay central. By turning the pole rather than the bit, you'll find that it will be self-centering and won't go off skew. And now that peg will fit down there. Now we need to make it clamp, so I want to cut down here to be able to clamp it, so it'll hold on tight. Then we'll drill a hole for a tightening bolt through here. Now I could have put it anywhere, but I decided to put it on the back half of this drill press. I have a bearing here that's cut to be there. I have a thrust bearing here with a screw to stop it coming back, and I'll chop that off and put the handle on. Now I'm going to get a nut of the size that I want it standardized to, and just cut a couple crosses on it. So now with a pair of pliers with it all tightened up, I can wind it on and grind that down to the depth I want it. And now for the assembly of it. We're going to need two on the outside that have got a tight fit on the pegs, and the two on the center have to be a loose fit so that they can spin. Now we could, if you've got the right drill bits to do that, we'll do it, but I don't, so let's just countersink these so that it doesn't fracture. When I take a round file and turning the round file, we're going to ream the holes out to the right distance or the right diameters, so that that is going to spin nicely on the inside one, but on an outside one be nice and tight. Now these ones spin, and the ones that are going here do not spin. They should be nice and snug. And if they're tight here, we'll just sand them back a bit more. There you go. So that should move on that one. And then a little dot of glue on those points just to glue those solid. And there we have finished, and just keep going, making them as long as you like. Now the making of the sprockets will have to come another video.